Wilson, just over $2,000 for a ticket to freedom. That's the price a Chinese man paid for a tiny dinghy to travel 130 kilometres across the Taiwan Strait. Our China media analyst Kerry Allen told me more.
He bought a boat on Taobao, which is China's version of, say, Amazon or eBay. He spent 16,000 yuan, which is roughly $2,000. And he originally travelled from Sichuan province, which is a good 1,000 miles inland, down to Fujian province in the east of China. And then he travelled across the sea and managed to arrive in the city of Taichung, which is in the west of Taiwan.
And this was a dinghy, obviously, with a little outboard motor.
It was, yes. He would have taken a much longer time otherwise. The police found him because they got a notice from somebody saying that he looked a bit strange. He was walking around without shoes, and this is how his story came out.
What do we know about him?
We know that he's 33 years old. I mean, we know what he's told the police. He's 33 years old. His surname is Zhou. We don't know much more than that because he's not been carrying ID on him, and the police have to now investigate and check that he's not a fugitive. So this is happening at the moment. We know that he's in quarantine because he's an arrival. So now he's waiting out his quarantine, and then after that, he could face years in prison or a fine. It's unclear what his fate will be next.
What have the Taiwanese authorities said?
Well, they've said that, yes, they need to investigate his story and ensure that he's not a fugitive from justice. But they're being very careful because there is an agreement in place since the early 90s that mainland China recognises Taiwan as part of China. So there is the possibility that under this agreement, he might have to go back to China eventually.
Which would be pretty grim for him, wouldn't it?
It would, yes, given how far he's travelled and the extent of which he's been able to make this journey. I mean, it's been a big talking point on Taiwanese social media platforms like Facebook, but also in mainland China as well. I mean, even though state media aren't talking about this, there are people talking about it on Sina Weibo, China's version of Facebook or Twitter. People find it extraordinary.
Is there a lot of sympathy for him?
There is a fair bit, yes. I mean, he must have been from quite harsh conditions. I mean, he did say to the police when he was detained that he'd come to Taiwan in search of freedom and democracy. But within mainland China, there are people who think that he should be brought back and he should face justice in the mainland, which would be probably a much more severe punishment than he would receive in Taiwan.
Kerry